Pretty well. Mine is. I'm sorry. I'm just setting this all up. Got it. Okay, so this stream I'm going to be basically talking about the urban legend in general. I haven't gone a lot into detail about it, and that's been on purpose because I really want to have time to say what it really is, because there's a lot of stuff actually went into it. A ridiculous amount of just this is basically 7 years in the making. So I take it all the way back. All the way back. It's even now it's kind of hard to start because the seed of it is basically, I've always been interested in fantasy and supernatural, all that kind of fun stuff. Starting with Buffy, Dresden Files, Harry Potter, and so urban legend has become kind of an amalgam of that, but also pulling from a bunch of other different sources. A bunch of sci-fis that I used to watch. Orson Scott Card is somewhat of an influence, at least in terms of like the political aspects. So what happened was the first kind of I'm looking for the word, just kind of inception, just kind of the first came into being was basically I had an idea for this is back when I was in college and I was doing video production, and it was a series I wanted to do called I had just gotten into After Effects, so I thought I could do really great special effects. No, I didn't. No. I fancied myself a graphic designer and that kind of stuff. No. Not my field. I would like it to be, though, eventually. But I'd never had the time or really the energy to do it because I had a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, what happened was I wanted to do like a kind of a short webisode type thing called Battle Mage. And what it essentially would be is kind of Harry Potter meets NCIS. There would be the term forensic alchemist was a thing. So that was kind of my first foray into what eventually became urban legend. I wanted to most of the fantasy stuff is always underground. There's always like the real world that you can kind of live in, but underneath there's this kind of like the mortal like everything does that basically. If it's not dystopian, it's going to be pretty much underground, like Mortal Instruments, Dresden, Harry Potter, Twilight in some respects. Also, it's all under the surface, and I wanted to give I wanted to do more than that. I wanted to basically make it where magic and technology kind of intermingle, and the chaos that would ensue. Because the more I kind of delve into it, the more I realized, yeah, there's a reason they keep it underground, and there's a reason that narratively it works to not make it so mainstream, is because depending on how you play with the magic systems, it can be apocalyptic. So I kind of had to back it down. Eventually, the webisode never took off the ground. I think I made a Facebook page about it, might still be there, and nothing ever came of it. So that kind of did, and then the idea kind of sat on the shelf for a while, and then I was kind of brought back to it by I was going on Pinterest and I saw this prompt about oh gosh, I wish I actually had it. It was basically someone wishing that they could have a like go to a coffee shop and get like like the little enchantment boosts, and I'm thinking, going, gosh, you know what? That'd be a really great idea. Wait, I already had that idea. So I molded around for a little bit, and this is about because I've been on and off about it for the past several years, and the last manuscript that I worked on that I've kind of put to the back burner was a time travel thriller, and then I put that down, and it was just becoming a real beast, and I'm just like, puts it down, I'm like, maybe I just need to do something. Maybe I just need to, take a break from it. So I decided, well, you know what? It's not the content, it's the length, I guess, that I was struggling with. So I decided, I'm just going to do novella. See what happens. So actually, this last February, I kind of jotted down some notes about what I wanted, and it's like, oh, okay, interesting. And then the idea of, like, vampires being kind of this kind of elitist, almost like Ivy League, Harvard snobs, those kind of people. And I'm thinking, you know what, that'd be... Because, they're usually portrayed as these kind of underground, menacing, bloodthirsty, sex-crazed kind of people. Well, let's just make them douches. More than they already are. And I actually took that a step further and made them, the older ones, freaking psychotic, which has been really fun. So I started playing around with the idea, and I started jotting stuff down. I got through, like, the first several chapters, and I'm like, oh crap, this is really good. This is really good. Since then, I've basically thrown all that out. But the seed of it, the seed of what I wanted to do, remained. And so I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. So I sprinted through the first draft. I think it was actually in March. I was doing a social hashtag challenge called Whipjoy, run by Bethany Jennings that I found on Twitter. And what happened was that I basically burned through that. The prompts gave me kind of little stepping stones to figure out what I needed to do for the different chapters. And then by the beginning of April, I had a completed draft. It was about 20,000 words. And it's like, oh, it's really short, but I think it's pretty good. So I've spent the next... Oh gosh, I don't even know what month we're... I spent basically the next 6 months... No, that's not right either. Oh, I have no concept of time. Spent the next 4 months trying to get it all together, and just in the past, few weeks, I've actually... This is pretty high. In the past few weeks, it's finally been locked down. I've finally been able to shelve it, because that was the big part. I was always nitpicking with it, and finally I was able to, lock in a date, lock in a time, do everything I wanted to do, get it in there, and I'm like... Okay, that this is happening now. So that's where I am now. I'm just kind of, I don't think it's really hit me in the way it's really supposed to, because this is the start of my career, and I'm going, I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So anyway, that's how it actually came to be. Now what's I'm gonna go more into the content of it. There are 3 main characters. I decided to do it third person. Limited POV, and with 3 main characters. You've got the main antagonist, Riley. She is at an orphanage. She's been there. She's 13 years old. She's been there since she was 3, so it's been a decade. And she has no idea what's wrong with her family, doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Basically, makes herself a loner. She only has one friend at the orphanage, Rose, and she's the only one who doesn't put up with the crap. So she is, and then she gets angry, ticks off some people, uses her magic that she kind of has control over, but this time is the first time she deliberately and intentionally uses it to hurt someone. She nearly loses control, but everyone ends up fine. But that's still a problem, because in my world, the magic is illegal. Like, you can't. No, that's a big no-no. It's like firing your gun. You can't fire your gun in the middle of the street. You can have it, sure. Not a problem. You cannot run up and down the street shooting it willy-nilly. You will get arrested. So any magic users who have manifest magic have to register. A little X-Mini, but worse. because it's required, and everyone falls in line, because the magic users are, they don't want to be oppressed. And if they feel oppressed, then they're going to fight back. And the people who don't want to corral them, because, they're human beings, but at the same time, they are dangerous. So basically, they came to a middle compromise. They have special schools set up that allow people to control their abilities, and then essentially never use them again unless they have permission. Which sounds kind of terrible, and that would be correct. I'm not trying to make too hard of a political statement, and I hope that I'm not trying to draw any direct allegory either, but I'm basically taking a situation where this is something that's very dangerous, needs to be handled with care, but they're also human beings who also need to be handled with a different kind of care. So that's what I'm playing with. I touch on it a little bit, but I probably won't be delving more into it until she actually gets into the school. And what happens is that the second main character, Arthur, he is a agent for the U.S. Department of Mysticism and Metaphysics. Really like that term, probably more than I should, or probably more than anyone else will. But it's a branch of the government that was actually established after the Civil War. That's when, because before magic was just kind of like really, kind of, I don't want to say wishy-washy, but it was very difficult to do. And then with the advent of industrialization, people start learning how to weaponize magic instead of, making things grow faster and purifying water. It was actually, starting to become quite deadly, and that's how it's become that the department was established to regulate that kind of stuff. And it eventually, because magic users are so dangerous, it's become a very, very powerful part, second only to the State Department, which is just below the executive office and that kind of stuff. So he comes in, he has to audit to make sure that she is actually manifesting, because that can be abused. They don't want to do a witch hunt. The thing about urban legend, the world, is that a lot of the like the stuff you hear, like the Salem witch trials, those were real in the sense that everyone was accusing everyone else of being a witch and just doing it for political gains. But then the Brothers Grimm is a history textbook. So again, that's been fun playing around with. And so he goes in, sees Riley has manifested. He goes, okay, we've got this new program set up, because they kind of already established it, but it's run by the Department of Education. This one is actually run by their department, and they got authorization to throw up some schools throughout the country. And he says, hey, you want to go here? And she's like, I'll sit on it. So she sits on it. That night, the third character comes into play. Now, this is Darius. He's part of the Vampirum. These are the Ivy League entitled predators who aren't really. They're almost like the Vatican in the sense they have their kind of city in the middle of somewhere. Actually, I haven't decided yet. And that's where they run their whole operation on the Western Hemisphere. But they really aren't a nation per se. But if you're a citizen of it, you have quite a bit of power of it. So he decides that he's going to capture her because of some wrong that her parents has done to him. So without spoiling too much, because I'm starting to get into this stuff, he tries to capture her. Arthur says no. Riley says screw you too, and it becomes a big mess trying to figure out where Riley's supposed to, or where Riley is actually supposed to go. So that's the meat of the whole thing. And yeah, so I don't want to get more into it because that would spoil it. Because it's only, it's 30,000 words. It's fairly sizable novella. The cutoff is usually around 40,000 from what I understand. So it's really hard to market it in the sense that as soon as I start talking about it, that's basically a lot more than would be out of a regular novel, which would be 2 or 3 times much bigger. So yeah, so those are the 3 characters, and the model for those, those are kind of amalgams of different areas too. Riley is the most blended in the sense I pulled a lot of elements from Jim Butcher's stuff, Orson Scott Card, Peter David. I read a lot of him growing up. Basically, it's kind of the risk of a main character is that they are too middle road. You want a main character that is vibrant, but also not really too off. You need the character, because the Riley character is the character that you're following. It's the one you're supposed to follow along with. That's where you learn the world. That's where you learn all the stuff. And she needs to be identifiable and sympathetic, but also have a personality. And there's been a lot of failings in that, in the sense that I've read some books where I just look at it and I'm the main character seems to be kind of flowing along while everyone else does the interesting stuff. So I don't want that. I want her to basically be making decisions, and I've kind of given her a bit of anger issues, which stems from me just a little bit growing up, and because my parents got divorced when I was real young. They're really, really angry phase. And so yeah, so some of her is from me and my experiences, and well, you'll have to see. Arthur is now. I'm gonna start with Darius first. Darius is kind of. I kind of wanted him to almost be an anti-villain. I wanted him to kind of work more like a hero in some aspects. I wanted him to not just be this, straight up evil guy. And what's nice about writing a villain's perspective is you can see exactly all the crap you would just kind of see. Is it makes kind of, because you see what villains, like, they just beat around their people. You don't actually see what's going on in their heads. This one you do, which kind of takes a bit of his threat, but kind of also brings more in, because the way I've designed him is he's very entitled. He's got this little minion guy, an imp, and to do his dirty work to try to capture Riley. And he basically, as soon as the imp slips and says something he's not supposed to, he's just boom. Yeah. And to him, that's not even a thing. That's not even a big deal. He's not doing it to be mean. He's doing it to put him in his place, which is scarier than trying to be mean, in my opinion, at least. So that's where he's coming from. And he's also got a very, very personal reason for wanting Riley, and not just what is immediately revealed. And so that goes much later into the book. You realize, okay, this is kind of where he's coming from. Still no, but I kind of get it. At least that's what I hope the readers will do. And then Arthur. Arthur, I think, is the most fun and frustrating character I've ever written, because what he is he's the kind of guy that will ball-face lie to your face, and still, when he gets caught, he's still able to keep your trust. Because what he does is, because he's a government agent, this is his job. He's essentially, he's been, you get little hints about what he's done, and yeah, he basically, there's been times when Riley catches him in lies, and he goes, yep, I lied to you, and I'm going to continue to lie to you. However, do you trust me to have your best interests at heart? And there's this whole thing about that. And so writing that kind of line between those kind of things has been really difficult, because I almost, at one point, I wanted to have him, that his power to rely on telling the truth always. That did not work narratively. I had to get rid of that. But so I basically kind of went in a different direction with him. There's a character in Jim Butcher's Codex of Alaris called Fidelius, and he plays this, super spy. And he is able to basically be in a room with two different groups of people and have them each think that he is a different person. And so to be able to kind of toe that line of being, and plus, he'll straight up lie to your face, or if you get caught, he'll say, yes, I did. What are you going to do about it? And be able to kind of talk his way out of, essentially getting, himself killed. And this is what I wanted to kind of play with Arthur. So that's been incredibly fun-strating. Can I use that? Fun-strating. I think I'm going to use that. Anyway. So that's what I wanted to talk about a bit. Yeah, this is just the first book, and I've already have the most of the second book already written as of now. I'm just gonna have to go back because I need to make some changes with it. But it's been, I have an idea, and I'm already starting to draft the third in my head. And what's gonna happen is, the way I'm gonna structure it is that the first 5 books, novellas, are going to be like her first year. And it's not going to be split evenly. Basically, each book is going to be kind of like a snapshot at a certain point. Because the first one is going to be her actually, fighting to get towards it. And then okay, well, I guess it's a little spoiler. Obviously, she gets to the school because, but the way in which she does it is pretty interesting. And it doesn't go, and the consequences of what she's done does not go away in any way, shape, or form. So the second one is going to deal with her actually being at the school, and that's going to where I'm going to delve more into the politics about what magic is in the world. And then the third one, she does another thing where it has lasting consequences. Yeah, basically, I'm finding I'm structuring the books where, for the finale, something big happens. She makes a really big choice. And the consequences resonate not through the first book, but through every sequential thing. Like what happens at the end of the first book is going to carry on to the end of the 9th book. It's going to, yeah. This is why I like writing huge arcs and serials, because it's not just the cookie cutter episodic. Oh, do the thing and it's all in a nice little box. Next nice little box. Next nice little box. I like watching broad strokes happen throughout the whole thing. I love those kind of books. I've already mentioned Jim Butcher's Dresden Files a lot, and I'll continue to do it because that is kind of my staple in just terms of arcs. Because he is on book, 15, 14. I think 15th is Peace Talks, which I'm still waiting for, by the way. And stuff from book 1 is still popping up. And I think that's absolutely incredible. And that's the kind of writing that I want to do. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really wanting people to enjoy it, talk about it, and yeah, because that's what I want to do as a writer. I'm not writing for myself, and because I could do that. And actually, if I did that, I could just think about stuff all day. JD from Scrub style, and I would be perfectly fine. But no, I want other people to enjoy it. I want other people to talk, because I've pulled a lot of enjoyment from reading other people's stuff, and I want to give some of that back. Pay it, not necessarily back or forward, sideways. I don't think that made sense. All right, well, thank you for hanging out with me for the last 20 minutes. So I've got another live stream happening at midnight for 3.5 hours from now or so. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm gonna do with that. I'm just gonna kind of show up, talk about stuff, life stuff, adulting stuff, authoring stuffs. Who knows? I don't know. It'll be fun. It'll be midnight, and I'll be incredibly tired. And I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be fun. I'm tired right now. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I've still got giveaways going on. There's one happening right now that's going to end at 10 o'clock. You can go to the descriptions. Very tired. I'm going to take a nap probably. The launch party and all that stuff is going to be in the descriptions. You can see where the links are. Ends at 10 o'clock in about an hour and a half. Plus the main event, which is going to happen through 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And yeah, I'm going to have 2 more lightning giveaways after this one ends, from midnight to 4, and then 6 to 10. And then at 10 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to have one last live stream. No, I'm going to have one. I'm sorry. I'm going to have a live stream at midnight, and I'll have one at 6 in the morning to kind of do the home stretch thing. And then at 10 o'clock, that's when it's all going to be wrapped up. And yeah, it's gonna do. It's been going very well, and I'm very appreciative of all the support that I've gotten from everyone. My phone is still blowing up with all the retweets and likes and everything. So thank you all so much. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to get some rest maybe. All right, have a good night, and I'll see you at midnight maybe.